Hello everyone and welcome to your second royal reading of today. It's a Saturday afternoon here at MadWorldTarot. Very hot, very steamy Saturday afternoon. I'm back at the tarot table after some interesting adventures. It's always nice to have interesting adventures. It does make you appreciate home when you do get home. I have the Shadowland Tarot for this reading. And we're still looking at the awards ceremony last night. Famously, Meghan Markle didn't bother to show up. I have just looked at that now. Going to do a shorter reading now, just to round off the energy today. Looking at has been, according to the Daily Mail, he was in high spirits. And they never use terms like that without good reason. They themselves are in high spirits. Of course, Harry yet announced yesterday that he was dropping his case against them, his libel case against them. We'll look at that in due course, of course. But I want to know what's going on with Has-Been. He snuck in the back way. He was pepped by that awful Carl Larson, my opinion, awful Carl Larson, who interestingly had a little side gig going for a while with Thomas Markle. So it's interesting that Carl Larson should know that Has-Been was sneaking in the back entrance to the Beverly Hilton rather than doing the red carpet thing. Obviously a little bit chastened by all the hostility towards this silly award that he's managed to get his tiny lady fingers on. So sneaking in the back entrance, looking a bit off his face in my inexpert opinion. So we're going to use the Shadowland Tarot and have a look at it. Then, of course, he made a very, I found personally, offensive speech, or some jokes at the start of it. I didn't bother to listen to the whole speech, but they were very nasty, directed at John Travolta, who hosted the event and, of course, was the one who got Harry the award in the first place. And he, of course, traded on the Mummy Diana card, said you danced with Mummy Diana when I was one. We're not going to dance together, but maybe we'll fly together. Now go away, sort of thing. You've served your purpose, off you go. And he also made a very snide comment about how John Travolta had no doubt dined every day, dined out on the story of dancing with Princess Diana. And of course, the one who's actually trading on Mummy Diana's name is Harry himself and his wife, Meghan Markle. So it was an awful speech. It sounded very bratish. It sounded offensive. It sounded like it might have been given by somebody who was a bit off his face, in my, as again, inexpert opinion. So we're going to have a look at all of this. His mood. Was he chemically enhanced, shall we say? For the occasion, he's of course been through a torrid time, all kinds of backlash, all kinds of negative things going on in his life. Perhaps he needed some chemical assistance to get through the evening. Excuse the plaster. I was cleaning someone's pool while I was away and got myself a little blister, being the pool guy. So that's the mirror side. So we're going to ask all of that. We're going to ask who wrote that nasty speech, or the jokes anyway in the nasty speech. Was it Harry's witticism off the cuff, sorry, joking, spontaneous wit, or was it planned at home and rehearsed and written perhaps by the wife who stayed at home to look after an unwell child? Cough, cough. How did it go down with John Travolta? Very nice man, very, very kind to Harry. And then to have this flung at him, really very insulting, disrespectful, I felt. And is Harry in for a fall with his ego, his bratishness, his sense that he is a divine, ruler? He's a prince above all ordinary mortals and can do no wrong, and courts would just dish out millions of damages to him without him having to prove his claim, that sort of thing. Is there a fall coming for Has-Been? Fall already, seemingly, but let's ask directly, universe, is there a fall? One more shuffle. Enough talking, let's get on with it. So a 6-card reading as the world comes out sideways. Interesting. And let's go. Let's remind you, as I do all of this, that it is just tarot. It's just, and I need to do that for some reason, tarot for fun and entertainment. It's all my opinion. It's all speculation. And of course, disclaimer, I just read energy. Forgot that one. That's what I do. It is archetypal energy, of course. And disclaimer in the box below, 6-card reading. a little bit different. And underlying energy. Underlying energy, 7 of Wands in reverse. Well, there she is staying at home. First of all, she's shown up, but staying at home wasn't worth taking the risk of showing up. So interesting. And it looked like he didn't want her. So it get the kind of a feeling almost from that underlying energy that he was allowed out for the night, off the leash. And that's a strange energy to come through from the 7 of Wands in reverse. But the 7 of Wands in reverse is about somebody who can't maintain their position, who is falling down. And you could say, for instance, with the 7 of Wands, just an example, not accusing Harry of being this, but the 7 of Wands could indicate someone who's a fall down drunk. You might use that expression for a 7 of Wands, just as an example. So somebody who can't maintain their position, who you could knock over with a feather, basically that 7 of Wands. That's a very interesting card to come out as our underlying energy for me as an energy reader. Let's have a look and see the situation that we are dealing with. Situation, we have the Moon. Ooh, fear and doubt and Mummy Diana. Of course, the Moon card is Mummy Diana card, obviously. So we're dealing with Mummy and Mummy issues. We're dealing also with perhaps a bit of Dutch courage with the Moon card, because the Moon card is about nameless fears, walking through the woods and seeing all those shadows and not knowing what's real and not knowing what's really frightening, very, very frightening, what you should be scared of, what's harmless, all of that stuff, mental health issues, who do you trust, whose hand are you really holding, what are you projecting. When you accuse someone of exploiting your mother's name, you're really actually mirroring and accusing yourself of exploiting your mother's name. For me, as an amateur psychologist, that's me just expressing an opinion. Of course, a fascinating card to show up as our overall story that we are reading on here. So his mood that night, was it really jovial, or was it behind the scenes really angry or ashamed or afraid? What was going on? Wow, the Tower in reverse. A bit of a heart-stopping moment for me as a tarot reader, because I get into energy, people's energy, and so when I see a card like the Tower, I also feel as if my world has been struck with a sudden calamity. And it's, yes, very often is. So let's not tempt fate. Luckily, the tarot table is a wooden one, and I'm giving it a good old tap now. But the Tower card, of course, refers to the backlash, the unexpected, because the Tower is about unexpected setbacks. The backlash from the top brass and the military about Harry didn't deserve this. He was just ordinary. He didn't accomplish anything. He wasn't even a pilot. Of course, the Lilibet saga, and of course the shock of Catherine, who he once really loved as a sister, and his father, both having medical crises that require surgery. And there he is in California getting this pretend award for being a pretend pilot of basically paper planes. The Tower. He is reeling from shock, and of course the catastrophe with the court case that he thought he would get summary judgment for, fistfuls of cash to top up the bank balance. Now he's on the hook for £750 million, allegedly. Terrible shocks, blow after blow after blow. And he had to scrape himself off the carpet, put himself into that tux, and off to the awards show. He had to plaster, I'm using that word advisedly, a smile on his face. He had new hair. I don't know whether it was the spray kind of hair or whether he's been for another top-up of hair transplant, but he did have a whole sort of a cornfield of hair on his head, interestingly, all planted in neat little rows. I hope no one takes offense at the term that I just used there, but it's the one that came to mind. So no offense intended to anyone, just by the way. So that's his mood. Not good. About as bad as a mood could be. Tower can also indicate temper tantrum. He might have been kicking and screaming on the floor and outdoing one of his children at that point. sometime during the day or in the lead up to this awards ceremony, just by the way. Interesting that we have an umbrella there and that famous photo of Harry and Meghan arriving at some event with the umbrella shot, very famous shot. It's now all in reverse. It's not going the way it used to go. It can't understand why. So that's his energy. How about whether he was medically enhanced, in high spirits? And we have the sun in reverse. That's a depression card. That's somebody who couldn't get out of bed unless there was a little bit of chemical assistance, in my opinion, because the sun in reverse is just really about gloom, misery, moping, all the light, all the clarity. The sun in reverse is the moon, obviously. And so we have a double moon here, and moon is mental health problems. We have an up and down energy, sun and moon, light and dark, up, 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 down, down, down. I think that the assistance that might have been required to get through this might have been, for the old Harry, we know he was on prescription type of antidepressants. So best case scenario is he's back on those for his mental stability. Worst case scenario, he's given something by a non-medical person, and there are non-medical people around in his field, or people who believe in such substances for mental health issues, who might have just given him a bit of a top-up before they sent him off to the awards ceremony. Who wrote the jokes? Whose clever idea were the jokes? There she is again. She's showing up, she's showing up, she's showing up, she's everywhere. There she is. How bizarre is this? Because really, she's not in every card. But there she is. The Queen of Swords, whip smart, because it's swords, not wands. It's normally wands. But swords is your mental ability, your mental faculty, your intelligence. The Queen of Swords, razor sharp wit. I would say that the Queen of Swords wrote those jokes. Thought very clever, very funny, brilliant speechwriter. And so smart, has been, I think, can barely write his own name at this point, especially if this is going on, the sun in reverse and the moon and the tower. Look at those cards, how terrible they are. So I think that she wrote them. That's my personal opinion. Could be wildly off the mark, of course, but that's the energy that's coming through that Queen of Swords for me. And how did they go down with John Travolta? Did he mind being so abused? The Empress in reverse, he did mind. He absolutely did. The Empress is Mummy Diana, generally. And so why take pot shots? He did a nice thing. He danced with her. It was one of those charming moments that we all remember about Diana. It was a lovely moment, and now it's been kind of tarnished. It's been made toxic. I'm sure it was a lovely memory for him that is now toxic. It's in reverse now. Every time he remembers that moment or sees a photo of it, he's going to think, well, Harry's accused me of dining out on that story for the rest of my life. Her son that I've just helped, who's desperately in need of help, and I have just helped, and this is the thanks I get, Empress in reverse. But there is a secondary meaning to this card for me as an energy reader, and it takes me back to our Queen of Swords sitting there in her library doing research and thinking and writing. Of course, the Empress can also be the wife at home. And I think that John Travolta, this is my opinion, John Travolta has a fairly good idea of where that bit of abuse, that's how I see it, and I think he saw it the same way. That's my personal opinion, where that bit of abuse might have come from. And we have, of course, heard about how she was going to be dancing with him, like Mummy Diana danced with him. She was going to have her big moment. I'm sure she had her black dress all ready before she decided it was better to stay at home. Previous reading. Is Harry in for a big fool with this attitude, or with this substance abuse, my opinion, with his mental health issues, with his taking pot shots at people who have really helped him out? He's dissed his whole family, and now he's going for someone who is a very, very famous man in Hollywood. We have the Six of Cups. It's not disaster, but universe has already shown us the disaster that is his life with the Tower. This is the childhood card. They're going back to old friends. They're going back to the days where things were lovely and sweet and innocent, and all your old mates were still around, and you were still friends with your brother, and all of that. He might have a bit of a moment where he wakes up one day and thinks, how have I lost all those people? Where have they all gone? Even people who have passed since he became such a brat, was publicly such a brat. Privately, he might have been such a brat all his life. But he might wake up one day and think, where have they gone? All those old friends. And of course, there are some songs, famous songs on that theme. I won't start singing any of them. I'm sure you have a few that you can name in the comments, but there it is, Six of Cups. Memories, I won't start singing. Nostalgia, old friends, wanting to go back to the past, wanting to go back to Mummy Diana, wanting to go back home to Blighty Britain, let's call it that, not Blighty. And so there is going to be a moment almost where he is infantile in my opinion anyway, but there could be a moment where he really regresses to his childhood. Quite seriously, I'm getting, this isn't a sweet energy, this, even though it's Six of Cups, one of the sweetest cards in the tarot. It's not giving me sweet feeling here. It's giving me almost some kind of crisis that might make him regress to his childhood. That's just, by the way, that was, instead of an outcome card, I decided to ask that very specific question, and we have got quite a warning card there, a somber warning for me as a tarot reader. It won't be passed on to Harry, I'm sure, but for me, looking at this, warning signs there in that card. That is your reading. Thank you very much for watching and supporting this channel, and I will see you again tomorrow.